All right. Episode 10, buddy.
Episode 10, man.
Here we go. The only break we've had between starting the podcast at the start of the year and currently.
Yeah.
We took a week off. And why did we do that, John?
I mean, it was very well deserved, I would say.
I think so.
It was a nice, well deserved time off. So much on our plate with the album release party and just so many gigs that are on our plate. And moving forward, we've got tons. I mean, this week we've got three gigs alone this week.
Yeah.
And
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah. And then back at the golf course, for me. So
yeah, exactly.
That's been busy Monday to Thursday. So yeah,
we were both feeling just a little, I wouldn't even want to say burnt out, but just on the precipice of we needed a little bit of a break.
Mm-hmm.
You were feeling a little under the weather.
Yep.
I was like, hey, me too. Let's just kind of maybe push it back a couple days. And then at that point, it's like, why bring it out on a Wednesday or something if we can just take the week.
Yep.
Take a break, put a nice cute picture of Jakey boy.
There we go.
Jake the pup on the Instagram just to let everyone know. And here we are. We're back. So
we're back.
Hopefully we're not just listening to the sound of our own voices this weekend. In the span of 1 week off, we lost.
Somebody's going to listen eventually.
All of our followers. Everyone's like, I hate loops.
Boycott loops.
Well, we know we got you, Alex. We know we have our loyal supporter, Alex, my brother-in-law. So shout out to Alex, shout out to Dylan, because I know you guys are listening. And Alex, crack a beer. I'm going to say a little cheers to you because I always drink Jager when we do our shows.
There you go.
Cheers, buddy, from across the country. And anyone else that's listening right now.
There you go.
This episode is not brought to you by Jagermeister, but one day maybe it will be.
One day, right? That's the long-term goal, is just to get sponsored by Jager. We've talked about that before.
We really do. And I think I'm going to start leaning into it even on our Instagram posts. And I'm just going to tag Jager.
Just take them every single day, man.
Every single episode, I do drink Jager while we're doing it. Yeah. And I drink Jager while we do our shows.
And why is that?
Well, it's Grandpa's old cough medicine, man. Yeah. It's amazing for your vocal cords. Yeah. The miracle, I always knew Jager was good for your vocal cords. I don't even know if I've told you this story actually, but if I haven't, doesn't matter. Even if I have, I mean, hey, people at home haven't heard it. So, there was one of my good buddies, Josh Duncan, was getting married to his now wife, Sarah. And this is 5 years ago, I think. I think they're just celebrating their 5th anniversary in the next little bit. Mm-hmm. And so Josh and Sarah, they were getting married, and Josh had asked me if I could sing at their wedding, but I had lost my voice and my vocal, which happens to me every few years in the spring. You remember It happened 2 years ago.
It did.
It was brutal. And when I get
before COVID,
right before COVID, right as it was starting. Yeah. And when I get a bad cold or flu or something in the winter, it just affects my vocal cords so bad. And sometimes I'll just lose them. And I could barely speak, and they wanted me to sing a song, and I really wanted to do it for them. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm in trouble. I don't know if I can pull this off. And another buddy of ours, Oka, he had a 40 of Jager back in his hotel room. Yeah. And he's like, I got Jager. And I'm like, you know what? Jager is supposed to help. And I didn't really drink much Jager at that point ever. And I was like, you know what? Let's just do a couple shots of Jager. And I took 3 or 4 in a row. I always liked Jager. I told you I created the atomic bomb.
Yeah, back in Saskatchewan.
Yep. In Regina. Yeah. And so when I was in training, I created the atomic bomb, which is a reverse of Jager bomb. Jager bomb, you have a bunch of Red Bull and you drop a shot of Jager in this. In the atomic bomb, you have 3 shots of Jager and you drop a little shot of Red Bull into it. Just for taste. Just for taste.
Yeah.
So I've always liked Jager, but I never did it as a kind of a music thing. And then, I took 3 or 4 shots really quickly just to loosen the vocal cords a bit.
Right.
And I was like, me. And I was like, ooh, this is kind of helping.
It's that worked.
It literally was a little pick me up.
Yeah.
So then I just got wasted off Jager. I probably had 6 or 7 more shots within 10, 15 minutes. I did a lot of shots of Jager. And they're just drag him out to the dance floor.
This man has to sing.
Yeah, they're doing speeches. And I'm like, it's time to sing. No.
You're the drunk uncle in the corner, man.
Yeah, that was me.
God.
I went out and I sang your song, and I actually was passable. It wasn't horrible.
Yeah.
And then after I was like, my voice is done forever. It was done. But it got me through. So I was like, wow, Jager.
But then you sobered up and then started thinking about it. It's you know what? That actually worked.
Yeah. This is magic.
Right.
It's incredible. Yeah. So I'm not addicted to anything. I don't smoke cigarettes. I'm not addicted to, I'm not an alcoholic. I don't do any drugs, but I'm probably addicted to Jaeger while performing.
But at this point, it's more just like for the taste and for the water. It's just like the pregame ritual, you know? If you like retape your sick before a game or something like that, then this is the exact same thing.
Which is funny because we've known each other now for a few years. And like I even got you kind of like liking it. And now you got to the point where you enjoyed the taste, which is hilarious because nobody likes the taste of it.
No, not at all. Yeah.
So I know you've been on an alcohol sabbatical, but when you decide to come back to the alcohol world, Jaeger will be waiting for you, my man.
There we go. Exactly. So yeah, for everybody who's tuning in for the very first time, my name's John. I don't have a last name. This is Kevin Roy.
Hello.
Right across from me here. And this is the Diary of the Indie Band podcast. We are super stoked to be starting it off, getting ready for this year, little tips and tricks. We've got an awesome podcast lined up today with some awesome music from cool local musicians, not necessarily local to us here in Kamloops, but local BC musicians, both of ours actually.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And then, we're going to be talking about some cool top fives a little bit later on. And you can probably hear Jake the dog rattling his little...
Yeah, Jake's definitely running around. Yeah. We're doing this one down in your bedroom, you and Alina's bedroom at my place. Well, still your place for 2 more weeks until you guys move out.
Yeah.
How's that move
April
coming?
1st. April 1st,
Are you excited? How's it?
It's like 2 weeks.
Let me check my app.
Yeah,
Let me check my timer that says when you guys are out of here.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's good. It's
17,
just kind of crossing the T's and dotting the I's for the new place and
nice.
All that kind of stuff. So all that's good, and we're moving forward. So we're obviously super excited to have our own space.
Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good. And you figured out, like, are you going to do for sure that idea with the spare room? Are you going to make that like your, like, kind of like the office and put like a lot of the loops gear and stuff in there?
I think Alina's on board with it, but it's just going to be that until I'm told otherwise, pretty much. Right?
Like, so that's she doesn't know, Alina.
Exactly. Don't bring this up in front of Alina, but it's definitely going to be the music room.
We'll be like,
right? Hey, you're going to, like, I mean, like right behind me right now, there's like 5 different guitars or something like that. Yeah. I got to put that away somewhere other than in the bedroom.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes sense for you to have the equipment at your place, and then for me to just keep the merch and keep all that stuff here, right? Paperwork and stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll just I think maybe just tell Alina that there was a little bit of like an audio issue. Like, the audio is really messed up for like the first, where are we at right now? 5-6 minutes. We're like, the audio was kind of messed. And then once you get past like maybe 7 minutes and 45 seconds, we're good.
Yeah, exactly. Just don't listen to that first part.
Don't listen. You don't want to hear.
No,
I'm talking about a present I'm getting you.
Yeah, exactly. No, she's on board with it, which is awesome. And just looking forward to just getting a little bit of a different routine going, and obviously that's going to change our routine a little bit because we can powwow whenever we want now, but it's almost like we got to come up with a business plan, and then it's like, this is what we got to do this week, and this is what we got to get to make sure that we're doing, and this is when we're meeting and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, we won't be able to have those like powwows or write a song in the stairwell like we did this week. Like,
well, that's the thing. It's like, I don't think that part's going to go away, because I feel like when we do end up going with those meetings, it's like, we've only got an hour. It's going to be like, okay, cool. But it's also going to be a super productive hour.
Absolutely.
Or it's going to turn into like a 4-hour, 5-hour session kind of thing, because that's the way that we go, right?
Exactly.
So anyway, that's kind of what's new with that.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, what's new with you in the past?
Well, we wrote that one song. I thought was super cool. I actually really enjoyed it. I've listened to it a few more times.
Yeah.
I know you weren't as big on the chorus didn't hit you as big, but to me now the chorus is hitting me better. And then I'm not like, I like the cadence and everything of like 3rd, 4th verse, and that one massive verse that just kind of goes on for like, I don't even know, 24 measures or something. Like, it's long. But I really like the cadence and everything as it goes. But the beginning, I think we'll just have to like play with that a little bit. You're better with that. Like, I don't know what it is. It's just, you're better with like kind of rhythmically, like Morning Girl. Like, I love Morning Girl. I love singing it. What you did and how you changed it up and like kind of the cadence of how you sang it. Sometimes it's just the smallest little changes that change that view from being a little fuzzy to like perfect focus, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So maybe I might need you just, which you probably already 2 steps ahead of me, but just listening to it on the way to the golf course, because it's 20 minutes to get there every day, and maybe just singing it yourself, like getting to know it that intimately, the lyrics too. Yeah, that you might be like, because I like the words, I like kind of how it flows. I don't want to lose the rhythm of the chorus, because it's my pledge to you. Like, it's kind of like it's I almost want it to be like a mantra. That's the point. That's the heart of the chorus.
Right.
Yeah, I think I'd be interested to see kind of what you can do to tweak and fine tune on that.
Which, I mean, like we've discussed before. I mean, maybe not on the podcast, but I mean, that's my favorite thing, right? It's
Absolutely,
to
it is.
figure out that behind the scenes kind of stuff that's going on and figuring out how to make it a little bit better, right? So it's like reshaping it. It's molding this piece of clay or something like that into something that's super cool that we're going to use all the time.
Which I think is kind of cool with our dynamic. I appreciate it more and more as time goes on. And every new song we work on, and I appreciate probably more than the one before. And it really is like a strengths and weaknesses complement each other. Not even weaknesses. It's just strengths and really strong strengths. Where I mean, man, literally as we're working on, like you'll come and you can just, I'll never lose fascination for how awesome it is as an instrumentalist that you can just be like, I have this riff, and you'll just come and you literally make it from nothing. It's like early man first creating fire. It's like you're creating something from nothing. It's an unbelievable thing. And I feel like I can do the exact same thing lyrically. Like I'll hear the music, it sparks me right away. And it's like, boom, I can make something from nothing.
For sure.
And you excel in also taking what I've done and just like that gem and like that diamond and polishing it up.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of times, like I probably don't give myself enough credit for it. I know you give me a lot more credit than I ever give myself because I'm always like, I don't contribute anything. You're like, no, dude, like you do a lot more instrumentally than you ever give yourself credit. You said this recently.
Right.
And it's like, I think that's where I help with that too, is that I'll take this gem of whatever, line you've laid down or riff or whatever. And then sometimes it will be as simple as, what if you do that one little off thing on the piano, play that one note instead of this one, or what, you know what I mean? Like I'll kind of fine tune it ever so slightly too.
Well, that's the other thing too, is like, that's like really helping shape the overall, song structure, is like a lot of it, right? Is where we're like really good at like bouncing off each other for that. But then the next step is just like making sure that it's like really refined. If you're writing an essay or writing out a super well thought out email or something like that, you got to make sure that like everything's like perfect from start to finish and all that kind of stuff, right? Always getting a second set of eyes on that.
It's a good example.
Is really, really helpful, right?
I like the email example too, or even more than an essay, because sometimes in an email, if it's really important, to your point, not just an email, but something really important, like, because a lot of times, how many times, if any of us listening at home, how many times have you been sitting there and you're writing an email and you want to make sure you word something perfect in one paragraph and you go back and forth, just that one paragraph, the other parts were already good. Yeah. But you polish that one paragraph so perfect that now it conflicts with something in a previous paragraph because you've lost the flow of the entire email because you got so focused on one particular part. And that can happen making songs.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think just we probably don't mention it enough. And I don't even think we've really talked too much about it in the podcast, but that is why early on, when especially I'd say like that first year was a lot of not even growing pains, it was just a lot of growth. And it was finding our comfort and finding what was going to be the best version of loops more than anything. Not even just what we were comfortable, because I think we were both so believing in the other guy, we were comfortable to do whatever the other guy really wanted us to do. Right. But it was more kind of like what is not most comfortable, what is not path of least resistance, but just what straight up is like the best version of loops. And we've really gotten to a sweet spot, I think, in 2022. Like I'm really excited to see how much we're going to soar with this. But that was where early on, despite all that, we really kind of realized like, hey, especially I think once we were getting the album ready, Fennel Roy. Is it Fennel Roy? Fennel Roy. Yeah.
Yeah. Song credits. That's
because Roy Fennel sounds like a name. And Fennel Roy sounds like two people. And it was like everything forever. That was our pledge to each other, was it's always going to be Fennel Roy. And I think that's important because it doesn't matter if I literally write 100% of the actual physical words that are in a song. I didn't write the lyrics of that song without your help. There's no song that we've done that you didn't help fine tune on the actual lyrical content. Right. It doesn't matter if the words came out of my head. I would never feel comfortable taking credit for those lyrics any more than anything because I couldn't have done it without you. They're just words on it. I might as well just write a poem. Right. So I think that's something I'm proud of with us. I don't think a lot of groups do that.
Well, and I feel like a lot of them, I guess. I feel like a lot of them as well, like kind of come to this point where it's like, you got to pick your battles when you can and can't say something, right? In that songwriting process as well. For like a lot of groups, I know, they don't last more than like 2 or 3 years because they aren't able to collab together, or somebody wants their songs to be more prominent than others and stuff like that,
put the
right?
Eagles aside, right?
Exactly, right? It's like, oh, this is the best way of us to like portray ourselves as blah 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 this, and I'm going to be singing lead and all this kind of stuff. This is how I want to play it. It's like, cool. If that's what you want to do a solo set. And nobody's going to take offense to it, but you got to think about what's best for the band.
Well,
right?
Look at like the Beatles, right? That's a perfect example if anyone's seen Get Back.
Mm-hmm.
Like George was just happy-go-lucky in the background the whole time, and he started making brilliant songs. Like some of his best songs, some of the best Beatles songs in the last few years of them as a band were written by George.
Mm-hmm.
And he just was kind of like, hey, what about this? What about this? And he would put forward songs to them.
Yeah. And then they would laugh.
And they would laugh.
They would laugh. It's like, that's sweet.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
nice.
sure. They would play with it for a little bit. Like they would humor him and then just be like, yeah, we don't want that song on here.
Exactly.
And it's like, cool. And then it ends up on like his solo album, and it's one of the great albums. Like,
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I think ego gets into the way a lot, and people want their credit.
Yeah.
And believe me, on a personal level, I want credit as much as anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But this is my kind of theme of the week. And to talk about the other thing, kind of I've grown a lot this week, is just on a business level, it doesn't matter. Like what matters most is loops. Like what matters most is what's going to push us forward the best and what's going to make us the best possible unit. And I'm happy with that. I think it's good.
Yeah. And just touching on that, I mean, it's like what we were discussing. I mean, yesterday, obviously we were having a big chat about this where we kind of like settled on this and whatever. I was trying to explain where I'm coming from.
Well, I wanted to touch on, and I know where you're going. I wanted to touch on this on the podcast because I think it's important for transparency.
I think
I don't think we ever want to mention names ever. I pride myself, and I know you do too, on like taking from Ed Sheeran's example. I'll never mention names of things. I'm never going to give clear examples. I want people being muddy and be like, I don't know what they're really talking about, but I get what they're talking about.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So go on. Sorry.
So, I mean, like with that point, I think that it's super important not to be cutthroat, especially as a musician.
Yes.
You're wearing all these hats. You're doing all these kind of different things, trying to progress yourself further. You're trying to be as firm as possible. This is the way that I am, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But as a lot of artists know, right, you've got to carry yourself with like a likable person, right?
Yeah.
Usually, unless your gimmick is like, hey, I'm going to be the dick that like nobody likes to.
Which you have to lean into.
Yeah, exactly. In which case you can do whatever you want. And then you can talk to people however you want. And if that's how you're going to be successful, cool. But right now, as indie musicians, you can't really do that, man.
No.
You can't do that, like talking to venues like that, because guess what? They are going to ask you to come back. And it's not necessarily easy to get into a venue in the first place.
Yes, exactly.
Right? I feel like that's what a lot of musicians are facing right now, because the ones who stuck it out and are trying their best to put their best foot forward, it's not like there's music every single night of the week like there used to be pre-COVID or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and to your point, like, yeah, you can't be a dick, but I think we had a big heart-to-heart about it, and it's been a lot of growing for me very recently on that balancing act of being a good person and carrying myself the way Kevin Roy, the man, carries himself. Everything. A cop for 10 years, all the stuff I went through in my life before that. I read a book about it. Being that person and having that kind of integrity and always want to take the high road and be good and have everyone. And unfortunately, it's a curse, but like always wanting everyone to like me. And I wish I could grow past it, but at the end of the day, I just got to embrace it. This is kind of how I'm wired.
Right.
And realize it as a strength and a weakness. But realizing that there's not anything wrong with carrying yourself with two personas as a musician. Like this is personal stuff and then there's business. And to your point, like you don't want to be cutthroat, but on the flip side, if you're getting a gig and all of a sudden they're throwing extra charges at you and you're making less money, like, okay, it is what it is, but don't be afraid to talk about that. Don't be afraid to be professional. But this is business. It's not personal. I like you. I could still go for a drink with you after. Like, you could still be my friend. Like, but this is professional. It's business. If we've never had this example, but I'm just bringing an example that would be very pertinent to music, and maybe someone listening out there has experiences themselves as an indie musician. You have a good friend and they're a talented musician too. And you're like, you know what? We're playing a 3-hour gig. They want us to get an opening act. Person blank, Johnny, my buddy Johnny, why don't you open for us? We're getting $400. We're going to play 2 hours, but we'll keep $250. We'll give you, $150 even, because you're our buddy, right? Just put on a great show. Johnny shows up. pounds back the drinks to start the show. And throughout the show, Johnny's getting pretty trash and he fucking embarrasses himself.
Right.
And he also embarrasses you because we brought him up here and again, to stress, this isn't a real story. But, you know, in that situation, I think prior to kind of having this kind of aha moment and some of the experiences we've had over the last few months as a band, I think I previously to 2022, I would have been kind of, I wouldn't have known how to handle it. I would have been stressed out. You can vouch for this. I would have been like, yeah, what do I do? Like,
for sure. Yeah.
Whereas I think now, I think I have the clarity and confidence to say like, hey, you're still my friend. This doesn't change. And even say that though, like, this doesn't change anything with our friendship, but you're going to have to earn your way back to playing any gigs with us again, because that hurt me as a band. That was very unprofessional. That's not how Loops carries ourselves. Yeah. And I think there's that line, and that if Johnny wants to take it personal and not realize it's just business, that's now on Johnny. Like I've absolved myself of that. That's not my issue. That's Johnny's issue. Right. Yeah. And I think it's easy for us to understand, hey, we've had venues be like, venues we super respect. And again, we won't mention names because they're awesome and I have zero issues with them. Like venues in our region that we really respect. They're like, hey, you guys are great. You're not kind of what we're looking for, like a lot of covers, and we want like a big full cover band. Like that's what we're looking for. But do we ever take that personal? No. So why do we just assume if we're doing something professional that's in the interest of us and looking out for Loops, that people are just automatically going to assume we're assholes? Right. It's a hard thing to kind of get over. And I wanted to share it on the podcast because in the spirit of the podcast, we've always said we're doing this for two reasons. One, for us as an accountability journal. And two, if there's anyone else in the same position as us, either a little bit ahead, a little bit behind, if we can help share these stories, one, maybe they don't feel so alone. Yeah. Maybe they can learn from our mistakes. And I feel that's something that can really help indie artists. Don't be afraid to put business and personal in two separate categories when you're handling your band. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's, you know, taking a long time to come to that kind of realization. Not you specifically. No, but you know no, that's okay, man. Hey, let's be candid. Let's be blunt. It has taken me a longer time than you, right? But you struggled with that early on. Of course. Right? Like we can talk about, let's be candid. Let's talk about that, right? Like you struggled with it in our early time, worrying too much what everyone in town thought. Absolutely. And I was like, hey, man, at the end of the day, you're almost putting more stock. This is months into Loop starting. Are you okay with me sharing this? Yeah, go for it. And I'm like, hey, buddy, like we had almost a fork in the roads, heart-to-heart convo. I'm really emotional. I'm like, I love you. You're my brother. We're buds. You can still even stay at my house as long as you want to stay in Kamloops. If the Loops thing isn't going to last, it's not going to last. But if you're dedicated to Loops, you're dedicated to me as a band partner, like I am for you, you need to stop putting what other people in town think ahead of what's in the best interest of us as a band. And especially just your friend, Kevin, but as a bandmate. And it's funny because that aha moment, it was almost like do as I say, not as I do. Yeah. Right? Oh, absolutely. To your point, I know you're being nice when you're like, no, you're not you specifically. No, it is. I'll be honest, man. I'll be candid for the podcast. It is me specifically because I'm the one that was having the troubles. And you've almost grown and matured way beyond that, where you're like, how does it feel? Does it feel nice to kind of just take a breath? Like you were saying that to me yesterday. And I'm like, absolutely. Yeah, dude. Yeah, you're right. Well, and I think on that point as well, you know, I think that going back to that, right, it's a different scenario now, like as you're in right now, than kind of where I was before. Because absolutely. What I was kind of experiencing in that was, you know, I'm worried about like what other people who aren't even like musicians are thinking and stuff like that. It's like, oh, John, you should be going to Vancouver and doing solo stuff and like whatever else. And it's like, absolutely. That's where that kind of like started messing with my mind and whatever else, right? Whereas like I'm like, you know what, I've got to, you know, whether it was an intentional or not, you know, I just kind of blocked that out and said, you know what, Loops is my focus. It's my main thing that I'm moving on, really, really working towards, right? So I think that now it's almost at that point where you're talking about like the business aspect where I'm like, I can still separate that because I think of it in the same way as the personal, right? Dude. So it's like these personal relationships, whatever you're going to input, whether it be my mom or, you know, one of my other friends or something like that who might have input. It's like, okay, cool. But also this is my business. Yes. Right. So it's like running a small business, like and stuff like that. Right. So you just have to think of it that way, where it's like, I'm not competing with other breweries. If I own a brewery or something like that, I got to worry about what mine is doing and make sure that I'm happy with the product we're putting out and make sure that we keep on growing. And I think not to diminish what you learned though. Yes. easily, we both agree, like the issues that we're handling now, where there's conflict, or I don't even want to say conflict, just things getting to us, other musicians that are just playing games, pretending to be our friends, pretending to have our best interests at heart, but they're not. We talked about that, I think, last episode about red flags, right? And how we trust Doug. And it's like, hey, if you're not Doug, no offense, we don't even want to hear what your red flags are for us, right? Like we mentioned that last podcast. You know, we even playfully put it up as our descriptor on Spotify and stuff. And so it's become bigger. It feels bigger. But the beauty of that, what you just described, is yes, the issues are more stressful now, but we're not handling them individually. We handle them together. You've had a less of a toll on you because you were able to apply those mental lessons early when it didn't matter.
Oh, absolutely.
So because you conditioned yourself early on to be like, man, I almost cost myself maybe the opportunity of my life. Not to mention just potentially, even though I stressed it in your mind, you're probably like, man, maybe this hurts my friendship with Kevin. Like, who knows, right? And you made that adjustment to be like, cool, people can give me whatever advice they want. If it's loops, I'm just literally going to worry about me, Kevin, moving forward, head down. Like, that's it. If Kevin gives me advice or Kevin has feedback, I will take it as gospel. We'll deal with it together, which we have since that time. But if it's not, cool, this is just someone giving me personal advice. Even if they think they're giving you business advice, you just put them into the personal category, and that was the key.
Well,
right?
exactly. That's it, right? When somebody starts telling us how we should be doing things and what we shouldn't be doing and stuff like that, that's where it's like, cool, what's the difference between you saying that and my girlfand right? Like,
yeah, dude, yeah.
And I love Alina, right? Like, she's
100%.
awesome and she's the best. And
she gives advice.
Absolutely, right? But she's, and I'm like, that's awesome, cool. I want to hear your input.
Of course.
You know, I'll always be open to other people's opinions and
I ask for it too, even from her. A lot of times
that's how you grow, right? You understand that feedback, right? It just goes back to the business thing all over again. You want that feedback from your customers or whatever else, right? But we also have to understand that what we're doing isn't just, you know, a knee-jerk reaction or something like that. We do everything very calculated, very thought out.
Yeah, dude.
Right?
And to that point, even more, Alina is the best example probably, because you know how much I even involve her, because I don't want her to ever feel like, you know, hey, we don't appreciate your help with merch, things like that. My mom, family members, anything, right? Best friends, people that support us, all that. Girlfriends for me, whatever. It's appreciated. We will take, and depending on who you are, we're going to take even more weight from one person to the next. But at the end of the day, I don't need to justify why I didn't take your advice. Yeah. Like, the only person I need to justify to is you. I only answer to you. You only answer to me. That's it. And that's the beauty of our dynamic. So why let other things stress me out? And it was causing me a lot of stress, which is why I felt it was cathartic even to share this on the podcast. Absolutely. I don't feel I was being authentic enough to the spirit of the podcast. Right. Because this, ironically, goes right back to the whole point of this, of the talk we're making. It's like, if I can't talk about it on the podcast because I'm worried someone's not going to like what I'm sharing, well, that's okay, because I'm doing this for us, and I'm doing this for the people that might get help from it. So what am I going to do? Be authentic to them, or offend somebody that might read between the lines and think I'm talking about them when maybe I'm not even talking about them. Right. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's just such a big thing. So I'm glad that you brought that up. You know, yeah, man. You know, the professional and personal relationships are so incredibly important to separate, and unfortunately it takes time, right? But at the same point of time, right, it's also relatively early in our loops journey, right? That's the thing, right? So I'd rather you learn this now rather than 3 years from now. And you have to learn this from experience. Honestly, you truly have to learn this when you're like, man, I have done nothing but be friends with this person or this business or whatever. I'm just there's so many examples. Yeah, I'm not even giving about it too. It's like, oh man, like, I mean, this is probably something that happens to like every musician. Like, early on, it's like, man, I expected this person to show up to my show. Yes. And then they didn't, and that kind of hurt me a little bit. I guarantee you, if you're listening out there and you're a musician, you're smiling right now at what John's saying, because you're like, something like that has happened to every single musician. All of us, yeah. Right? It's one thing if you're only playing one show and you're doing it because you have people in town that are coming out or something like that. But, you know, that disappointment, you know, will carry with you, at least for a little bit, right? It's like, man, like, I'm playing this show and I'm super excited for it. And you said that you liked it last time you were there, so I thought that you'd come out again. I came out to your show last week. It was your first show in town, and then you didn't come out to ours the next week later. Like it's there's a million things you can spin yourself into just a frenzy, right?
Absolutely.
And you have to at a certain point be like, hey, I like you still. You're a good person, but at the end of the day, you know, do you have my best interests at heart? I don't know. So why even stress over it? Like there's no point. I think at the end, the biggest stress for me, just to sum this up though, was just, and you know this, John, but like it was that feeling of like, I don't want people to think that we're jerks. I don't want to give people reasons to say that, oh yeah, loops are jerks or loops say this or they're divas. Yes, that's the best way to describe it, honestly. And I've said it to you too. Like, oh, these guys are divas. Oh, these guys, when they play a show, they have the whole rider set up and they want this and this and they're divas. And I didn't want to gain that reputation. You know what? We've seen firsthand, man, like sometimes if you're just doing really good and you're being successful, people will find reasons to not like you anyways. Like they're going to come, that's them. Again, go back to what I was saying at the very beginning of all this. That's a them problem. If they're going to decide whatever they want about you, you can't control that. We can only control how we react to it and how we carry ourselves. If all we're doing is putting it in, and I think it just makes it easier than trying to be the nice guy, but still look out for business all at the same time.
Right.
We can be nice and kind and professional, but if we're just like, hey, this is business, not personal. As business, I need to know that if you cancel our gig last minute, we're either going to get a makeup date or you're going to pay us 50%. Like, there's nothing wrong with asking for that. And if someone doesn't want to honor that, well, then you don't want to do business with them anyways. Like, and I don't think it would be expected normally if they treated it reverse because we're the artists. So sometimes it's almost like we're like that person with bad credit that goes to the car dealership. They know they have bad credit, so they're willing to take whatever car they can get. Right.
Yeah.
You almost feel like that sometimes as an indie artist, right? And I feel that analogy actually is pretty apropos. And you're kind of like, oh, you know what? I want that car and that would fit me better, but I'll take this one because I'm honestly, who am I? Like, I can't argue. I can't complain.
Yeah.
We need to realize that, hey, that's fine. Then just go find another dealership. Yeah. Right. Like, it's the same kind of idea.
No, I think that's an awesome analogy. And you really like translates into like what's going on and translates to venues as well. You know, if you can only pay musicians X amount, then that's kind of the type of musician that's going to get there. If you can only pay the low bar, right? If you're only paying $100 for maybe a 3-hour show or something like that, then probably only people who can really like just afford to do that are going to be playing those gigs.
And here's the thing though, to further this, like, does that venue ever need to? Do they ever? No. Do they need to? No. And should they apologize to us for only having to be able to pay $200 for their gig? No. If you decide to play the gig, that's your now call. They're just saying, hey, Loops, you want $500, you want $1,000 for a 3-hour show. Well, I mean, we're a small brewery. We can only afford, a couple $100. We're a small pub. We're a small cafe. If you want to play it, this is what we can afford. Right. If you don't, that's okay. No hard feelings. It's like they don't apologize to us, right? No. We make the choice. So then we calculate, we'll say, okay, in this territory, we're pretty well established, so it doesn't make sense for us to play it for less. In that territory, we want to build a following, so we'll go over there. We'll play for less money just to earn the extra fan base. It's worth it long term. But then to the extreme, that this territory is too far. Like, we wouldn't go to Penticton and play a $150 show. It just wouldn't make sense because we'd spend more money on gas.
Exactly. Well, especially now.
We'd spend double. Like, we would take it in double loss. We'd have to sell a lot of merch. And even then, maybe we would calculate it, but I don't think I'm pretty confident we wouldn't. Yeah. But we would make the decision. That Penticton gig wouldn't be apologizing to us for doing that. So
exactly.
I think it was important. That was the big thing for me over the last 2 weeks. I think we kind of established kind of the point, but I hope that does help anyone that's at home as well. Learn with us. This is a big thing that we've kind of discovered on our journey at different stages. You helped me a lot last week, and I want to thank you even on the podcast. Like, I thank you for helping be like, hey man, don't be a fake nice guy. Yeah. Just because you're not a fake person. And that was your point of that was like, you're not fake.
Yeah, exactly.
Be nice. Still be nice when you're being stern. You can be firm, but fair. Like, you can be kind, but also respectful of yourself enough that you're professional and you're demanding kind of, this is what I need in a situation. And if you don't like it, that's okay. You don't have to be a jerk. It doesn't have to swing the pendulum so far.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think we went a little bit longer talking about that than we both wanted, but I think it was important to discuss that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it was a big thing we've discovered over the last multiple months, really. And we haven't touched on it too much. We've kind of teased it a little bit in the podcast.
Yeah.
But it was an important thing. So
yeah, no, I completely agree. Yeah, so I think that we're going to be chatting about music now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I'm super stoked to be bringing everybody who's listening some new music this week because I've been itching to get this guy out here because I think I'll go first now at this point.
Yeah, do you want to go first? Cool.
Yeah, so the guy that I'm going to be chatting about,
I don't even know who you're picking,
is Wesley Attew, who's actually from England originally, but he
my home country where I was
moved
born
to Canada a few years ago.
Nice. Okay.
I think he's in his 20s. I don't really know. But he's actually a super, super awesome musician down there who's starting to like work his way up. He's got about like 16,000 monthly listeners.
Is he down in like Vancouver?
He's down in Vancouver.
Nice.
But he's got like 2,000 followers on Instagram, which his Instagram, just hold on with me for 2 seconds here while I find it, is Wesley Attew Music. So that's Wesley, like WesleyAttew music, all one word.
Beauty.
Yeah, but yeah, he's grinding. He's doing a lot of cool stuff. He's got like 1,900 followers or something like that. So just a little bit over us.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's got some awesome music. This one came out end of November or early November, 2021. Sweet. And let's give it a listen.
All right.
We all make mistakes, do things that we can't erase, break down what we can unbreak, that we can hardly stand it. We've all turned away, lie awake just to hear the rain, so afraid we never changed that we didn't even try. And even when it's heavy and you wanna run for cover, having grace under the pressure is how you find the courage. And even when it's heavy and you wanna run for cover, having grace under the pressure is how you find the courage. Played it back, breathe smoke through a second hand, heard cracks when the vinyl spins, but never makes it right.
Yeah, man,
that was so good. That was really polished. I like it. He sings kind of like in the same kind of like key and kind of style as I do too.
Right.
So I appreciate it vocally.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, he's super cool. I like the song. I like the power of what he's singing about.
Yeah.
He's Vancouver. He's got about the same kind of following as us. I want to reach out to this guy more. Obviously, you will have done that with for the pod for the song, but
yeah,
I want to network with this guy more. We're gonna be playing some shows down in Vancouver the next little while, so let's try to meet up with this guy if we can.
Absolutely. He's actually playing in Vancouver the day before we play in Vancouver. So he's playing on April 14th at the Fox Cabaret.
Well, depending when we get down, maybe we'll see how. I don't know when we get down, but maybe we can get down early enough, see him, and then maybe invite him to our show. But Wesley, I'm assuming you're listening because we put your song on here. That was awesome, dude. I would love to network with you.
Super cool.
I like where your head's at with everything you did. Like that's right up the Loop's alley, and I appreciate it so much. So
yeah,
I'd love to know more. I want to. Yeah, I'm so intrigued. I think this guy's awesome. He's really,
super
really cool.
Hey?
You got a fan in me for sure, dude. That's so cool.
Absolutely. Cool, man. Well, I want to hear about your music.
All right. So mine is, it's actually kind of cool because 2 years ago, as of this week, basically.
Pretty much. It was like March 13th.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I think it was.
Which is today.
Oh, geez.
We were at so it was the Creative Arts BC, BC Touring Council workshop. And we went down to Penticton. You had to apply to be in it. We got selected to be in it. And you also had to apply to do like a showcase. We did a showcase. It was literally the last couple days before the world got shut down with COVID.
Oh, absolutely.
Literally. The sports already got shut down in the days preceding it.
Yep.
And then we were all like on high alert. Everybody stayed distant from each other.
Everybody was super aware while we were there. Like I remember trying to shake people's hands, and it's just like, no,
what do we
just
do?
elbows.
Yeah, it was weird, but we didn't know
because I'm like, I have no clue what's going on right now. Right?
It was so new.
Yeah.
But we made amazing lifelong connections there. That's where we've mentioned it before, but that's where we met our producer Doug Cox, who's our mentor as well. So that alone was worth it just for the trip. We met a bunch of other people that were presenters there. They were teachers and facilitators, and we made great friendships with them. And then we met a couple artists as well too. And one of which is a friend of ours who is we're lucky and proud to be friends with, Etienne Siew. And Etienne, actually, I thought this would be, his songs are a little bit older. The one song I chose is from 2019. But he is a folk artist. He's a single act, and he makes music that we like, right up our alley, kind of tells awesome stories. Him and I had a couple cool heart-to-hearts on lunch breaks, even about the balancing act of telling an intimate story that is still relatable with other people. Etienne tells these really beautiful, intimate stories. He was having trouble kind of, how do I put these songs in ways that the average person can relate with it?
Right, yeah.
And that's something I've always prided myself on as a strength of something I can do. So we really bonded over that. He's awesome. I'm going to give you his Instagram now before I miss it. It's at Etienne Siew, ETIENNESIEW. As always, the links are going to be there for Spotify and such to stream. If you're hearing this on our website, just go to one of those links, find the link to give them a follow, and also go on Instagram. I will put up the links for both Wesley and Etienne. The reason why I wanted to mention Etienne this week, so the song, like I told you, Where She Belongs, is the song I'm picking, and like I mentioned, it was from 2019. Why am I picking it now? Well, Etienne actually just won the Fraser Valley Music Awards Artist of the Year Award.
Right, yeah, I saw that.
Super cool. He also won I'm going to get the name wrong, so I don't want to say it incorrectly, but it was an actual voter Reader's Choice award.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was kind of put on through like the local press and whatnot. I believe it was Leslie Fraser, but I'm going to get the name wrong 100%. Right. I know I got it wrong, so I don't even want to say it incorrectly. I had it on notes on my phone, but as you know, John, my phone died about 3 minutes ago. So I'm like, oh no. So I don't want to say it wrong, but he also won the Audience Vote Award. But more importantly than that, on the actual jury panel, they actually picked him as the Fraser Valley Music Award, the top prize. So Etienne, you're a buddy. We're proud to know you. You're a great, great dude. Let's link up when we're down in the Lower Mainland. Message me or John or both. And we will definitely link up with you as well. Have some beers, come out to our show. We'll, if you're playing anything, we'll go and check out your show as well.
Absolutely.
But for everyone else that doesn't know him, you're welcome in advance, because he's an awesome dude and he tells such cool stories. So this is my choice, our friend Etienne.
Cool.
The tides that wash upon this bay. She sat in the sand with a book in her hand, dreaming of a better day. This big city is too small for the heart of an island girl. Soft-spoken, strong, you'd never catch her around the buzz and the hustle of these sleepless roads. Where she belongs, she knows.
All right, so that's our buddy Etienne. I know you've heard pretty much all his songs as well, but that's the one I chose, dude. So what are your thoughts on that? I already said my glowing praise of Etienne.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what, Etienne, I understand why you won the Fraser Valley Music Awards,
dude.
Because I'm like, that is an awesome song. And unfortunately, you know what, I haven't gotten a chance to listen to all of his stuff yet.
Okay.
But now I've got a reason to listen to all that kind of stuff. So I'm super stoked to listen to more of his stuff from, I think that was 2019.
Yeah,
from what
it was
saw
2019. I didn't want to just kind of go pick the most recent thing or the thing that has the most. I listened to a bunch of his stuff and I was like, you know what, I want to honor Etienne as a thanks for being our friend, and just a shout out. I want some of the people that follow and respect us and following our journey,
right?
To follow our friend. So please go give Etienne a follow. I'm not minimizing Wesley. I mean, I want to network with Wesley. I'm now fangirling out over how awesome he is. But Etienne, yeah, he's our buddy, man. Go check him out. It would mean a lot to both of us if you do that. And you know what I love the most? I think I can sum this up probably for you as well, safely, is I think we both respect the fact that Etienne, you are authentically you.
Absolutely.
I don't think we can give you bigger praise than that.
It's true. I think that we've chatted about that lots before.
We have.
But it's like, don't be something that you're not, right?
Yes.
Like, it's so obvious for a lot of things.
It really, and you think you're getting away with it, and people see. They're like, man, you're just phony baloney, dude. And when you talk, all we hear is want, like Charlie Brown's teacher.
Right.
Etienne is the opposite of that, man.
Of course
he's
he is.
the opposite of that. He's so authentic. He never tries to make it seem like he's a bigger deal than he is.
Very real. You know what? Like, one of the coolest stories that I remember is of that like time that we were down in Penticton.
Yeah.
Was with Etienne. It was just he and I in the car. No, you had to leave because you were sick. I think.
Well, I had Jake and I was sick.
Yeah.
I was sick for weeks up before because I lost my voice.
We
this is
literally
circling
just
together the
talked
whole.
about it.
Yeah, this is tying it in a nice neat bow. The podcast. I lost my voice.
Yeah.
I'd gotten over it relatively well, enough to give him one awesome version of One More Story.
Yeah.
But that was it. And I had Jake with me. I knew Jake was going to cry and bark the whole time. For anyone that doesn't already know, I think you guys all do know by this point, but our mascot is my little miniature poodle that Sebastian's mom picked out and really wanted a small one, and I wanted a golden doodle. Golden doodle. We had one picked out in Calgary, but she was like, let's go check out and see this little tiny toy poodle place up in Barrier. Went up there, and Jake melted everyone's hearts, including mine. I never had a small dog in my life. He's looking at me right now. He knows I'm talking about him.
Yeah, he's so cute. He's still cute.
And he still looks identical that he looked after 6 months. So I got him at 8 weeks. I've had him 8 years now. Anyways, long story short, he came down for the thing. We actually had an Airbnb that had animals. They were allowed to have animals. 10 minutes after we left, Jake was like, "Whoa!"
Oh yeah, and then
the
like
basement.
the
lady
Airbnb
called. I was like, "Holy crap! We're supposed to start. We're networking with people. This is one of the bigger opportunities we've had."
Yeah.
And I had to leave you, and I'm like, "Okay, you just go shake hands and make friends, and I'm gonna be back. Hopefully, not be late."
Then I'm like, we can't shake hands.
We can't shake hands. It's over.
Yeah, exactly.
Loops is done. So then I drove back to the Airbnb, pick up Jake, come back, do the walk of shame. And I'm like, hey, if I got to wait in the car with my dog all day, or like John will be here, like you would take notes. It wouldn't be the end of the world. I just would have missed it, and I would have taken one for the team. But they were like, you know what? He seems nice as long as he's friendly. And Jake became the mascot of the whole weekend.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So any of our friends that are listening now that support
great
us,
little buffer.
Yeah, that were at that workshop. Doug, everybody, right? Everybody, Evie, like all of our friends.
They're like, you are the guys with the dog, right?
Yeah, it's funny because you want to be memorable. You couldn't be more memorable because Jake would jump up into people's laps. Like everyone's like, we love Jake, we love Loops.
Yeah, exactly, right?
It was all an accident.
So it's
not intentional.
Yeah, okay, guy. So circling all the way back to me and Etienne. So we were just driving around in my car.
Yes, because I was with
there were two open mics that were supposed to go on that night.
That's right.
But they were canceled because of COVID.
Yes.
But Etienne and I,
you guys were going to try to find them.
We're just hanging out, and we were just like, we'll busk on the streets. But the streets were dead. They were dead quiet. Nobody wanted to leave their houses. As
well, you remember what it was like. We all forget. It was 2 years ago, but like this is within days of those famous pictures of like Las Vegas Strip looking like what's the zombie show?
Every show?
Oh yeah, yes. Every zombie. I'm like, what's that zombie show where everyone?
So many.
But The Walking Dead. It was like a Walking Dead. Vegas, and it was like this is at the same time, and this is Penticton. So there probably it would have been bustling on a Friday or Saturday night, at least until like 9, 10, 11, whatever.
But it was also in March, and the weather was nice.
It was March. The weather was nice. So
thing, right?
You guys were like, "Well, find somebody." It's like, no, everybody's hiding,
just like
boarding up their doors, collecting all the toilet paper they can.
Right? That was essentially where we were at. But I remember just hanging out with Etienne at least for a little bit there, and we had some really, really great chats that night as well. And luckily the restaurant bar that we were like staying in or whatever was still open, so then we met up with a whole bunch of presenters and stuff like that, and we're just hanging out with them. So
I know I missed all that stuff. It sucks. I would love that stuff normally. Like
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're a social butterfly,
right? Like more than you, man. Like normally if there was ever going to be one of us being like, I'm going to call it tonight, I'm not feeling the best, and one of us being out and just socializing all night long, like it would probably be me if you had to put money on it.
Right.
But you took one for the team, and you were like, yeah, man, I'm going to go. And, but it was easy because the people were cool. That's the difference too. It's not like
it's also being in the room with the same like-minded people
for a couple days,
right? It's like we are all here because we love music. We're trying to grow our businesses. We're trying to become better in every single shape, way, and form.
Well, and the presenters respect the fact that we're there grinding where they used to be. And then the people that are there, we respect because
They're in the
they're
same
also
boat.
trying. They're there at least.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned it to a few colleagues at the time. I remember definitively a couple people I can think off the top of my head. I'm like, hey, there's a couple spots left for this. Like, we already got our name in. You should go check it out too. And they're like, it's not really for me. I'm like, okay, I guess. Like,
It's like, that's fine.
that's cool. It's not for you. But the people that it is for, those are people I want to be around. Those are people I could drive, no different than you. I could drive around with an Etienne for 2 hours. I haven't just met him and just freaking have heart to hearts and become buddies. And case in point, we're still friends with him 2 years later. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I think you agree. It was my honor to put you on there, Etienne, as our choice this week. So
Yeah, absolutely. Stoked to hear that. Can't wait to listen to more.
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So that's our new music. Please check out the links as always. Do us a favor. If you love and support Loops, help us support the people we're supporting, because honestly, even if you just do it just to help us, we want to do our best. And if we can get our friends to help us, as I say at least once every single podcast, a rising tide lifts all ships. So
There it is.
we want to do our absolute best to do that. And I also try to slide in many hands make light work, but
okay, guy.
you're like, that's not the one I like.
had to do it.
It's not the one I like. There it is.
No, that's
So
fine.
I think to wrap up this pod, this has been a really good one. Let's do our top fives, buddy.
You want to talk about top 5?
I'm ready to talk about top
All right,
fives, even
cool.
though it is not my area of expertise.
No,
this week.
not this week.
This
But
week is yours.
but that's all right.
But I love music history,
It's true.
as we both know. I'm a
Absolutely.
music nerd.
So yeah, I was worried because your phone died. If you would still have your list.
I got it in my head.
Oh man.
I'm
What a guy.
dialed in, dude. I am dialed in. Well, you know me. Like, I am a music and sports nerd when it comes to random facts. And no different than I could sit there and talk about the top 5 NHL players of all time and sit here for an hour going on about it. I can talk about our topic, which is the top 5 guitarists of all time. Do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Go for it, man.
All right, I'm going to go first. So, as always, you guys know the rules. Please, please, please let us know your top 5 in the comments, in an email, dib@officialloops.com.
Or send us a DM on Instagram.
Send us a DM on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you're hearing this, an email through our webpage, wherever you find it. Let us know. This is our top 5s, our personal top 5s, no particular order. So, number 1, I think probably is actually my number 1.
Cool.
Jimi Hendrix. Unbelievable. You're going to be able to talk more of the technical elements of what made these guys so great than I can. I just know, studying history, Hendrix was unbelievable, self-taught. I mentioned this actually, I believe, a little callback to the episode 7, the Jeremy Nishaw episode. I talked about Hendrix and how he
Was
played.
that 7
I believe so.
or 8?
I believe it was 7.
I don't know, man.
8 was 2 parts.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
9, we dialed it back and finally didn't have like an hour and 45-minute episode, which was very difficult to do. I
Yeah.
think it was still an hour and 6
Exactly,
minutes
yeah.
or something. If we're every episode now, it's become a running thing. We're like, this one's going to be shorter. Let's try to do this one like
Yeah,
half an
exactly.
hour. It's like, no, it's not possible.
It's gonna be a 45-minute episode.
Not possible.
Yeah.
So Hendrix, he famously played a left-handed guitar. He was left-handed, played guitar left-handed, but he played on a right-handed guitar, just flipped up, like just strung upside down.
He learned how to play upside down.
And he continued to do that. I think Jeremy actually gave us a little anecdote that he was gifted a guitar.
Yeah,
And he
from-
never ended up playing it.
Yeah, from Mr. Eric Clapton.
Yeah, from
If I
Clapton.
remember.
So he was incredible. You can look him up. You obviously know who Hendrix is. I'm not going to insult anyone's intelligence and talk about how great he was. He was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Great albums. Died famously in the 27 Club,
Yep.
which is a little bit of a spoiler for another person in my top 5.
Oh.
So I will get to that further in a second. But Jimi Hendrix, I think, is the greatest guitarist of all time. Yeah, he's my number 1. You just mentioned him. Also in my top 5, my second choice is Mr. Eric Clapton.
Cool.
He's incredible. Started out in the Yardbirds, I believe was the name of the band. He was in Cream. He was awesome, man. He was so wicked. My favorite Eric Clapton anecdote is that when the Beatles were recording While My Guitar Gently Weeps,
That's the one.
written by George Harrison, Clapton, they were threatening. Well, they weren't threatening. Well, they probably were threatening. Let's be honest. It was John and Paul. But the nice version is that they were like, hey, I mean, if you want, why don't we get Eric to come in and do this
Right.
and make the guitar weep properly? He didn't. He didn't end up playing on the album, but George found a way to make it weep. But that's how great Clapton was. He was best friends with George Harrison. he was actually, if you do watch Get Back, you'll see it more intimately. But you and I are total music nerds. And we already knew this a long time ago, long before the documentary. But when Harrison quit the band, they were considering bringing in Eric Clapton to be to be the Beatle. So he's awesome. He's bonkers good. I think next on my list of 5 would be Jimmy Page. Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Unbelievable guitarist of probably the greatest rock and roll band of all time.
Yeah. Yep.
My dad's going to be very upset that I didn't say Brian May of Queen is the greatest guitarist of the rock and roll band of all time, because I'm a Queen family raised person. But I just think what Page did, it was just, I think
that he put down the roots almost for, like Brian May to be as good as he was.
Yes. And here's the thing about Zeppelin is like they took what the Beatles did on Revolver and they turned it up to 11, right? To borrow, this is Spinal Tap reference. And he was just, there was just the energy with Zeppelin. It was just larger than life. And I think that's part of what I love about it. To me, sorry, Dad, but Queen is Freddie Mercury and Friends. I love Queen. I love Brian May, John Deacon. I love all those guys. They're awesome. But I think that there's something that was just larger than life about Page. So that's 1, 2, 3. Next, I'll mention Robert Johnson.
Oh, okay. So because you have to.
I have to. I love telling this story.
You love this story.
I do love this story. A good buddy of ours, Bo, who I met at the same time as you, doesn't live in Canada anymore. He's fantastic.
Yeah, he does.
Is he back in Canada now?
He lives in like Ottawa or something like that.
What?
Yep.
Wow, we got to visit him when we do our Ontario tour.
For like 2 years or something like that.
Bo. Bo, if you're listening to this, well, I'm going to tag him now because he's mentioned in the episode. So, Bo, if you're listening to this, we got to link up, like legit. Like,
oh, yeah, absolutely.
Your boys, John and Kev, we got to link. We had so many good times with Bo, like outside of me, just friends. Like, he's a good dude. He was your roommate for like half a year. Yeah, great guy. Amazing musician. And him and I bonded talking about like R&B history and music. And
he's a music nerd.
Oh, he's
right.
Total music nerd.
That's like why we like played all so much into one another, right?
Robert Johnson, I remember bonding with the story about it, and he had a cool documentary I hadn't seen. And he told me about to watch as well. There's a bunch, you can look it up. He was born, I believe, in 1912, died in 1939, if I'm remembering off the top of my head. But again, I don't have a cell phone in front of me. But he died when he was 27, and the legend goes he was living in the Deep South in the early days of the blues, Muddy Waters, those kind of guys. And he was okay. He was passable. And he disappeared for a couple years. No one knows where he went. This is early days too, so there's no social media, things like that to chronicle someone's adventures. But he just kind of disappeared, showed up a couple years later, telling everyone he sold his soul to the devil to be a legendary musician. And he was playing notes people hadn't heard before, chords people hadn't heard. The legends, the way they talk about it, the way guys like Muddy Waters and B.B. King and all these legendary blues guitarists talk about Robert Johnson is it was like he came back with an extra finger on each hand, and he had 6 fingers on each hand. So for picking, strumming, and playing. And it was just, he blew everyone's minds. He went from like a 4 to like a 13 out of 10. Like, he was incredible. There's only, I believe, one album I think he made, maybe 30 songs ever. And most notably, beyond him just being a bonkers good guitarist, is he was killed because he was sleeping with a woman's, with a woman, and her husband ended up killing him.
Right.
And he died at 27. And the legend is he literally started the founder of the 27 Club, which famously has lots of members, unfortunately. Kurt Cobain, I just mentioned Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Amy Winehouse most recently, Jim Morrison. Like, there's a lot of famous members of that club, sadly, but he was the first one. He was 27, a legend, gone way before his time, but he created a lot of what we hear in blues nowadays today.
Right.
And then I think, honestly, I was tossed up because I'm not a guitarist myself. Like, I can play probably better than I give myself credit for, as you've said many times, but I'm not an accomplished guitarist. I'm not anyone that feels confident to get up on stage as my craft like you. But I appreciate the art. I was tossed up on number 5, but I went with Eddie Van Halen.
Nice.
I don't think I can go wrong with that choice.
Not at all.
He's bonkers good. We all know who Van Halen is. At the end of the day, if you are that good that the band named after you can sustain itself for the legendary run that Van Halen has. And they were arguing, you can flip a coin, you'll find just as many people that like either lead singer as the better version of Van Halen. Right. What does that tell you? It tells you it doesn't matter the singer. It tells you that the actual music that Van Halen was making, which is rare. You get this as well as anyone. That's rare for the music to supersede even the vocals and the voice of a band. Yeah, Van Halen did it. He was amazing. He's a legend. I believe, if I'm remembering right, he did the guitar riff in "Beat It" as well, Michael Jackson, which influenced young Kevin Roy.
I don't know why I didn't know
that. That was Van Halen. So. And famously years later, Slash played it at like an MJ benefit concert or something. But yeah, it was Van Halen on the original version. You can fact check me on that. Anyone can feel free to let me know. But when I have a phone ready, I'll double check. But I'm pretty sure Van Halen did the Beat It riff. So
that's cool.
There's my top 5, man, from a non-guitarist. Cool. That's my top 5. What do you think? What are your thoughts on my top 5?
Yeah, before I get into mine. I want to touch on a few of those. Please. I'm not surprised by a few of them. Jimi Hendrix, he's on mine as well. Left-handed guitarist.
Nice.
There weren't very many of them before anyway, because it was so
in general
expensive
I didn't know
to buy a left-handed guitar that unless you could afford that kind of price and a teacher who also knew how to play left-handed and all that kind of stuff.
You would just learn to do
about that kind of stuff.
They would just teach them to do it right-handed then instead.
Exactly.
Wow.
Right. So
I didn't know. This is why I wanted your feedback.
You have to think about that as well. And with Jimi Hendrix, I mean, I think that you mentioned it before, but where even though he was gifted a left-handed guitar and stuff like that, he still played right-handed.
Yeah.
Right. Because the process of training yourself to learn how to play left-handed would be completely opposite of how he already knew how to do everything.
Yeah.
So he's as successful as he was playing a right-handed guitar left-handed.
Yeah.
Right. That if he got a left-handed guitar, it would be like starting from scratch.
Yeah. Yeah. He just,
right?
Yeah. Because
everything would be backwards.
Exactly. So if you could just picture it, he literally just took his. Anytime you see Hendrix playing, he's playing left-handed. Obviously, you see any video you've ever seen of him, but he's got a right-handed guitar just strung upside down. Yeah, to actually play the left-handed guitar, it would just feel different. It would be completely. Yeah. And that was the most beautiful thing about Hendrix was he was all on feel. Like I said before, self-taught, right? Like he was just pure instinct. Yeah. More than maybe any guitarist ever, just pure instinct.
Exactly.
You take that away if you now have to play on a left-handed, actual strung, proper left-handed guitar. Even something as simple as now I'm now going to seem like such an amateur to every musician out there. I apologize. Hey, but I'm honest. I'm transparent. This is Diary of an Indie Band. Is it the pick guard? What's it called when you're playing this below? So below your fret and you're strumming, right? And you have the deck, and then there's like it's a pick. Yeah,
there's 5 here.
No, I know, but like the little
this one,
that guy, yeah,
this one, yeah, the pick guard.
It's a pick guard. God, yes. I was asking, is that's what it's called, a pick guard? And you're like, I've never heard this. I've never heard this word, a pick guard, in my life. And I'm like, pick guard.
That's good.
Yeah, so a pick guard, but even the pick guard being on the opposite side, because it would be on the opposite side for him. He'd be playing. If you picture just flipping your guitar upside down, he'd have the pick guard at the top, but that's what he was used to, right?
Exactly.
I think it would have killed all the feel.
Yeah. Jimi Hendrix, on your list is awesome. He's on mine, of course. Eric Clapton. I found that one super interesting.
Okay.
Because I think that Eric Clapton is an incredibly talented guitarist, and I think that if we're just thinking about musicians and their abilities with music, like ignoring everything that they've ever done, and not that there's a whole bunch of controversies.
No, there is a lot of controversies.
Exactly. But
let's be clear, this is the business versus personal episode.
Absolutely,
so that's the theme of this episode.
I
so perfect.
I thought about that a lot, and it's just tough to ignore some of those things.
Hey man,
right?
I respect that, dude.
Out of your mind. So I respect him as a musician. I think that he's an awesome musician, but it's actually something that Doug told us a while back, where he's like, I was going to nominate these guys for the Junos because I'm on the Juno committee.
Yeah.
Right. But unfortunately their personal lives kind of drag them down.
He's like, yeah. And I can't do it at the end of the day. And sometimes it does bleed in, which is, again, circling back, why it's important for us to be professional, to be business and put our foot down with shit, but we also are going to still be nice. We're still going to be good people when we do it. Yeah. Unfortunately, Clapton has a big, dirty, gross, ugly stain with him. With a lot of that stuff. Feel free to go look it up. Yeah. Not hard to find.
I think that, along those notes with, the other 3 on there, I totally understand where you're coming from with
Cool.
those. So yeah. So anyway, my list here, Jimi Hendrix, obviously he's high up on that list, if not number one on that list.
Cool. Sweet.
Right. I think also on this list, super high up, is a musician, a guitarist called B.B. King,
Oh,
who is the guy of
I feel I might be able to
blues,
guess a couple of yours.
blues
now.
and jazz.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he is the guy, and
course he is.
holy, like he lived a long life.
Yeah.
I actually forgot to look up when he passed away, but I know that it was in the 2010s or something like that.
Yeah.
But he was able to grace the stage.
He was in his 80s, wasn't he, or something? At least.
He was an old fella,
Yeah, yeah.
but he was big. He was
Yeah.
a big fella,
Oh,
but
yeah.
he played guitar like nobody else, kind of thing. Like nobody else in that genre, that style, with that much feel,
That's
that much
yeah.
emotion.
That's the key
Right?
to feel.
I mean, like you can like translate that into rock and other things, like Eric Clapton.
Yeah,
Can't even
absolutely.
do that kind
Yeah.
of stuff, right? But the way that he can do it throughout the entirety of a song, where like you're listening to a piece of jazz music, but you're not getting bored.
Yeah.
Like that's such a big thing, not getting bored, or by blues just feeling like you're
Well, what's the big
sad.
thing about jazz, right? You can speak to this as an instrumentalist. Like
Mhm.
jazz and blues, it's more about sometimes playing the notes between the notes,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if anyone was a master of that,
Yeah.
B.B. King, right? Like they get the
Absolutely.
value of, it's not just the notes you're playing, it's the notes between the notes.
Yeah. So along that line with B.B. King, it's actually somebody who was able to play with B.B. King once, who is John Mayer.
Oh,
John Mayer and
I know.
B.B. King.
I was. That's when I was like, I bet you I could guess someone I missed.
Exactly. So John
Somewhere
Mayer,
Jeremy Nisha shaking
like,
his head right now, just
exactly,
disgusted
right?
at me. Sorry, Jeremy.
John Mayer, I mean, he's the modern day, king of
He's
guitar,
pretty wicked.
right? Like he's the guy. I can't think of another guitarist in today's day and age over the last like 10 years who's that good, who's like modern and putting out like that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. Like I'm like, yes, like Paul McCartney is an awesome musician. He's an awesome guitarist, but like his music goes back.
I'm
to
not
the
going to
60s.
compare him to John Mayer, but I feel only other person that deserves that category of legendary, will remember them years down the road, potentially excellence. Not John Mayer level, don't get me wrong. Would maybe be Jack White. Maybe Jack White from the White Stripes. All right.
I can't believe I don't know this band.
Holy crap, he's
Jack
going to blow
White.
your mind.
Okay, I've got to look that
Cool.
up.
This is a fun takeaway. Legitimately, Jack White's going to blow your mind. He
Cool.
plays with everybody. He's kind of the John Mayer equivalent.
Well, and with that too, I
He's
mean,
bonkers.
like,
But John Mayer is next level.
It's not like there aren't awesome guitarists.
No,
like,
no.
Like I was even
Yeah.
thinking like Slash and stuff like that.
Yep.
Like he's amazing. He's an incredible
Absolutely.
guitarist, right? So
Absolutely.
I can't say that there aren't any good guitarists out there or anything like that. I think that
No,
is
but
just
Mayer's
that
in like
level.
Yeah, we're talking top
right?
5 list, right? And
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Don't get me wrong. I also wouldn't put Jack White. I'm actually excited. This is a nice takeaway from this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I almost can hear I can read the caption out. And John's never heard of Jack White? Question mark.
That's funny. Next on my list is actually the last two on my list are maybe ones that a normal person might not think about, but I think a lot about, which one of them is actually Ed Sheeran.
Whoa, cool.
Ed Sheeran I put on this list because I
Sweet.
think that he's not like a solo wing
yeah.
like musician
Yeah.
or anything like that, but I think that the way that he utilizes his guitar
Gotcha.
is unprecedented.
The creativity. Yeah.
The way that he uses it as a drum, as a bass, as all these different instruments, he's able to do that. He's a one-man show.
Yeah, man.
Right? He's
Yeah.
that level that any musician who uses a loop pedal wants to get to, essentially.
Well,
right?
you,
That's the
you
goal.
appreciate it more even than I do. And I love Ed, but I love Ed Sheeran for different reasons than you do, right? Very different reasons. I love his like lyrical content, how he breaks down his songs, and I love vocals. You appreciate that loop pedal because you make loops on every show we do. And you know how difficult it is. When you watch it and you're like, wow, that's impressive that he's doing that. It's even more impressive if you know how hard it actually is to do it and layer them properly.
Absolutely.
You can do it, but they can also sound like just a hot mess. Ed does it in a way that always works.
And I know that there's a whole bunch of musicians who use loop pedals as well. Like there's that guy in Europe. What's his name? Mark Rubio or something like that.
yeah,
Who's like kind of weird.
Yeah.
But he's got his like niche and he's like good with all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's a girl, Tash Sultana, down in New Zealand or Australia or something like that. She's phenomenal. She's
There's tons.
like a multi-instrument.
But how many
like,
were doing it before Ed Sheeran blew up?
Well, that's exactly part of it,
Which is
right?
key,
Is,
right?
is he was able to utilize that and use it for his advantage because he couldn't afford to pay other musicians. He did all this kind of different stuff, right?
How many sold out world record tours with just him at,
The
we've
most.
said, Wembley Stadium, right? Record-breaking tour. Broke U2's record for the most sales ever on a world tour.
Yeah.
Just him and a loop pedal. Like, come on.
Exactly.
I could never argue that choice. That's an awesome choice.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome choice.
He sold out 3 straight days at Wembley, man.
My choice is pretty generic. Your choices are way better.
So,
I like your list better than mine.
I'm just thinking of it very
Outside
broad,
the box,
right? I'm
outside
trying to
the
think
box.
more than just like, the technique and just the style of like playing, because I think that, when we're talking about guitarists, you got to think about those things.
Yeah,
right?
for sure, dude.
The bigger scope.
Well, that's why I told you before the episode even, I was like, I'm excited to hear your top 5 on this one, right?
Yeah.
There's some where I've said where I'm talking from more level expertise than you have on different top 5s. This is one where like, yeah, like I'm excited to listen. Like
Right.
I want to hear your breakdowns on these
Well,
things.
I mean, there's just so many different ones where you can think about even like John Lennon or something like
Yeah.
that. John Lennon kind of helped create, modern day rock and roll with Paul
Absolutely,
McCartney.
they did.
Right. So
Yeah.
like even that like crossed my mind when I was thinking about this list,
Dude, George Harrison.
Yeah.
Harrison playing the first mainstream 12 string. Like he got it custom made for him. People
Even-
didn't play 12 strings before George Harrison did.
Exactly.
You play it on every show we play now, an acoustic 12 string. Like
Yeah.
that doesn't exist if George Harrison doesn't get a custom 12 string made by Fender.
Well,
Like,
and somebody like you mentioned before is Kurt Cobain. Kurt Cobain used the guitar in his advantage to demonstrate pain and kind of agony.
yeah,
Right?
100%
That
he did.
like developed the grunge era.
yeah, dude, and
Right?
it came through.
And I'm just like, that's super cool too, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's a weird list, but I
love it.
I love that it was the challenge that you kind of like presented to
Yeah,
this
dude, yeah.
episode. So the last one on my list is David Gilmour
oh
from
wow,
Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd, yeah, absolutely.
I think that I've chatted with my mom a whole bunch about this.
Nice.
But my mom is a big Pink Floyd fan, and that's what I grew up to, was listening to David Gilmour and Roger Waters and just
Nice.
listening to how they develop music and all this kind of stuff, and watching documentaries like about that, right?
Nice,
So
nice.
from my personal experience, listening to it and listening to the way that music comes out of that group, I feel like David Gilmour is the heart of the group. And I know that a lot of people actually think that Roger Waters,
Yeah,
because he's got the soul and he's the one who ended up leaving the group and stuff like that. But David Gilmour was the one who also carried it on. He wasn't one of the founding members of the group, but I think that he took them to that next level.
Yeah.
Is the thing.
Yeah.
And if you ever watch videos of him playing guitar live, you see how much he feels like when playing. Like it's absolutely insane. Like he will sing the same melody that he's playing on the guitar, like an octave higher. It's
Really?
so cool. Like
just for himself.
just for himself.
Yeah,
Because
he's not
like,
mic'd up.
This is how I progress. This is
Yeah,
how
yeah.
like I feel it out.
Yeah, that's how
This
he's
is-
feeling it. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Well,
I'm
and if
just
you
like,
listen to The Wall or anything like that, like they're just crazy, amazing, best-selling ever concept albums, really, and they're just
oh man, are they ever?
they're bonkers and they're
Yeah.
so freaking cool. And yeah, without that, it's all the instrumentals. Like vocals are great and all, but come on,
But
like
they're
come
very
on.
secondary.
They're
to,
very
what's going
secondary.
on, right?
Very
Like it's
secondary.
you listen to Dark Side of the Moon,
Yeah.
that entire album, start to finish, man,
Yeah.
is like one big masterpiece.
Well,
It's
Dark
like
Side of the Moon
going-
is Dark Side of the Moon the one that you can line up as soon as the MGM lion roars in Wizard of Oz. Roar, you start Dark Side of the Moon, and it will line up. And if you play it, there's a conspiracy theory, and
Yeah.
you actually play it, it will actually line up with so many crazy things
Right.
throughout the Wizard of Oz. You just play it in the background while the Wizard
Right.
of Oz.
Yeah.
So, fun little challenge for anyone out there if you're
Mhm.
drinking or and partaking in other
Yeah.
fun things. Line up if you haven't done it already. A lot of people know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But line up Dark Side of the Moon with
It's crazy.
Wizard of Oz, but that speaks to just the brilliance
It's
of the
brilliance of the
instrumentals.
band. But I think that David Gilmour really did a great job of expressing what he thought.
Yeah.
Because I truly believe that he took them to that next level.
For sure.
As soon as he joined the band, who is the name of the guy who left the group or was kind of like kicked out?
I remember we
it was
listened to a cool
Pat something.
Yeah, we listened to an
think is
awesome
what his name
podcast about it too.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that he's one of those like generational
Yeah.
guitarists. I
Yeah.
feel personally.
Hey man, it's your list, buddy.
So yeah, that rounds out my list.
I love it, dude. It was
Yeah,
cool.
man.
And we only had one bleed into both lists.
Yeah,
Jimmy,
it's true.
the number one, the GOAT.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, we had an awesome episode. Moving forward, we got a busy week.
We do.
I actually am really proud of myself and you, but I'm
just gonna pat myself on the back right
I'm gonna give myself a little pat on the back
Credit to
session here.
me.
This is the Kevin pat on the back session of the episode.
We've had Jeremy Nisha, like happy episodes about them.
Yeah.
Doug Cox.
When's the Kevin Roy episode?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm waiting for that.
I'm
shit.
waiting for this. Come
When's
on,
that
John.
coming? Come on, let's go. So pat on my own back though is our awesome website engineer, Kevin Bartley. We've talked about it a few times. River City Design. If you ever need website work, he's fantastic. But I got him to kind of help walk me through just to be able to update the website on my own. I'm not good with that kind of stuff, but I am very visual. If you show me, I'm like a racehorse. I've said this so many times, right? Just point me in the right direction, show me what to do, and I'll do it, period. But you give me too many different things, I just get confused and overwhelmed by stuff. I need like one task and I'll crush it. And you were there too. And we spent about an hour with Kevin the other day just getting a tutorial on things I can do to fine tune the website without needing his help.
Yep.
So that's going to be a big part of my week is updating the website, getting it nice and fluid. I worked on an EPK that was pretty good. I think it came out pretty good. Doug asked us for a really good one he can present to purchasers and buyers. So we're going to see how that goes. And getting ready for our shows coming up Thursday, Friday, Saturday, man.
We've got a busy 6 weeks.
Do you want to talk about what we're going? Yeah, we have a really busy upcoming while, but this week in particular, because we can just update next week again. But what do we got this week coming up? Yeah,
stay tuned on our website because we'll have all those dates posted there. We are playing outside of Kamloops a lot coming up as well. So be sure to check out our events page on our website, like I was saying. But this upcoming week, Thursday, we're playing out at Rivershore Golf Links.
We got a special St. Patty's Day event.
Yeah, it's going to be an awesome
gonna be
event.
Fun. And it's a long day, too, for us. It's a 5:30 till 9 show.
Yeah, it is. We're doing like background music for like an hour or something like that.
And then it's just
going to be
it up.
An awesome just party.
I'm excited,
right?
man.
It's St. Patty's Day, right?
Well, you were saying already, like John, as we've told you guys many times, he works there. And we played there a couple times in the fall. And I was really proud of actually. I'll even say it on the pod. Like our last show we played there, we had a rate, and we got an extra $100 tip on top of that, just from like in addition to our own tips, just from the actual the GM. Yeah. And they were like, "Hey, good job, guys!" And that's
way to go.
Honestly, like to me, that's you can't do bigger praise. Like if you're just literally like, you know what, this is what we agreed on, and we just think you guys did so good, you deserve an extra $100. Yeah. That was cool. So I'm itching to get there. And you were telling me just the other day that there's already like a couple tables of like 15 people or 20 people that are just already VIP'd the front of the stage, like right in front of where we're going to perform because they want to have like a fun night out of it. So I got us, if you know the two of us, you know how Loops is broken down, you know our dynamics. In Kevin fashion, while my mom was still visiting for the album release, we went to the dollar store and I just loaded us up and spent like $20-$25 on just all the most ridiculous
how much
St. Patty's Day
how many
baloney.
Things can you get from that?
A lot at a dollar store,
at least
man. 25 items. Yeah. There was and to no surprise, when I showed it to John and Alina, I'm like, "Hey, look what I got." Alina was like, "Yes." And John was like, "Fuck."
I was not like, "Fuck." I was like, "Man, this is going to be a pain trying to get me into this."
And it's cool. It's cool because we already did like we already have a good strategy. So if you're coming to that show on St. Patty's Day, all good, man. You splash the tip jar and John will put on another cool, ridiculous freaking St. Patty's Day item.
Be absolutely ridiculous.
I got weird little undersized hats. I got like shot glasses that are chains around, like just beads around your neck. I got everything, man. I got weird St. Patty's Day glasses. Like I am going to St. Patty's Day
because they know me there.
Oh, they know it. They're like, "Let's get them kitted out."
Exactly,
it's
right?
It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be hilarious.
So that's Thursday. Friday and Saturday, we're playing the casino circuit. We're playing match and match.
Yeah, match out here in Kamloops, and then we're playing match out in Vernon for anybody who's in the area.
Yeah, that's our first time at the Vernon show, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, mark that on your calendar. What is that, the 17th? 18th?
No, 17th is St. Patty's Day, buddy.
19th.
This is how much you hate St. Patty's Day. Just admit it, John. You hate St. Patty's Day. I know. I got the new caption for the episode. John hates St. Patty's Day? Question mark.
But yeah, we'll be in Vernon on the 19th. Be sure if you're in the area to come check us out. Sure. We're playing from 9 to 12, 8 to 11 here in Kamloops. Yes. And then, we already mentioned the golf course.
Yep. And the Kamloops one will be fun. We played it one other time so far, and it was an awesome show. It was such a great show.
Oh, yeah.
It was rocking. So we're stoked, man. It's going to be a fun weekend.
It's going to be a busy week. We've got lots on the go. So be sure to check out our events page like we already discussed on our website, officialloops.com. We've got a whole bunch of events and dates kind of lined up.
Absolutely. Bunch
all
of stuff
around
going in.
BC,
Yeah, a bunch of stuff
so-
in April and end of March as well. But this is just the stuff this week. But
Yeah.
it's been a blast, man. And we're both excited. This is what we live for, though. Like, we get excited just even talking about it. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have a blast. We hope we see some of you guys out there. Shoot us your top fives, please. Let us know who you think your top 5 musicians are. Go check out Etienne. Go check out Wesley. I know I'm going to be. I'm
Absolutely.
stoked. I think he's wicked.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Pretty much wraps it up.
business and personal, man. That was the theme of the week. So
For sure.
we learned some lessons. We hope you guys did too. And thanks for, again, episode 10, joining us on this ride, guys.
Absolutely, everybody. Have a good week.
Keep on keeping on.